Despite what you're seeing around yourself of 180 degrees temptation.
We will be talking about the future of universities in a place of the past, okay?
Well, now there you go. Thank you for explaining. Thank you, Igor. You have preempted my thinking, because I hadn't come to that. But yes, that's a good one. So tomorrow, we will go into the past to think about the future. Okay, but I wanted to finish today. So those of you who were here yesterday, we introduced Jakob's work and briefly, and only half an hour after he had started working. We wanted to finish today with two things. One is to give Jakob the opportunity to explain his work to us and how it fits in, obviously, with our work. But mainly we invited him because we felt that this is one of the techniques that contribute to some of the discussions we have about what is knowledge, how do you communicate it, how do you share it, how do you co-produce it, yeah? So we are sort of exploiting you in another way by asking you to even tell us how you work and why you do the work that you do and how you see it in the scheme of the discussions that we've had. And the second thing that I wanted to do this afternoon was for you to sign an eventual manifesto, which is not going to happen, but personally, I think the main purpose has been achieved, which is for us to help us reflect further on what we're doing, what we came up with, whether it's useful, whether we want to go ahead with it, whether there is something more useful that we can do. And this is something that we will discuss at the next opportunity with the next meeting, or probably by email, since we're wrapping up meetings. But that was very useful, and I want to thank all of you, A, indeed, for staying despite the temptation, B, for all your contributions and sharing your thoughts. And it was really, for us, it's very precious. So I will stop now. I want to pass the word to Jakob, and also I want to thank you for the work you've done in the last 2 days, and I look forward to your final day tomorrow.
Thank you, Olivia. Well, I think I cannot stop facilitating if I do things like that. And once Olivia asked me to as well talk about my work, I said, well, then I have to do it in a way as well. So before I start talking, please spread these papers around, and before you make yourself comfortable in your chair, because we've been sitting so much, just walk around the room and find one person you have not talked to yet. And we do that in silence, please. We do that in silence. Just get a paper and find a person you have not talked to yet. Okay, and if you see this hand, you can put up your hand and close your mouth. If you see this hand, you can put up your hand, and as well, just close your mouth. Oh, I won't stop until I don't hear any voices. Perfect, thank you. And now, I want to tap into something that I'll call sense-making. So with your partner, with the person you didn't talk to yet, if you're 3 people, you have an extra challenge you can handle. Try to come up with like one sentence, like the essence of today, like a statement, a quote that you together develop and write on the paper. And we have like 2 to 3 minutes for that. Just one sentence for the 2. And if you have 2 papers, one can be the draft. If someone needs pens, I have pens here. Okay, try to wrap it up and come up with one sentence that you formulate together. Like your key takeaway from today. Okay, and if you see this hand, you can as well, again, close your mouth and make sure you have your sentence ready. You can encourage the people talking to stop. Okay, and now you can send one ambassador from the group up front here to come up here, just one person. One person out of each two come up here. And the other ones can just observe. Okay, this is now a perfect example of that you expect something that is not going to happen. I did not tell you to line up or anything. So what we're going to do is that you walk around in this space, and always when you meet a person, you just exchange the cards. And if I raise the hand and say freeze, you just stop and freeze, and then you go together with one person that is next to you, and you have, it's really difficult, can you hold the microphone to show? You have then two sentences. And out of the two of us, we have 7 points to distribute for the two sentences. Not which one is better, but which has more resonance. So which is more, like, wow, that has more power, more feeling to it. So we can put 3 and 4, or 7 and 0, and put it on the back. And if I raise my hand again, we start walking and do that 3 times. You'll understand that while we're walking. So walk around and meet people, just exchange the things. Don't look at them, don't read them, and just exchange. Don't read, just exchange. Okay, and stop. And now with the person you're with, you can share points. So you have 7 points to divide up. No, there's not.
No, it doesn't work really. We miss one.
So I would just out of process issues, I'd ask you just to leave it out at the moment.
Yes, I will just.
Could you do that?
Yeah, and then try to find somebody next time.
No, just to leave it out.
No,
You can hang it. Yeah, I'll tell you. I'll tell you when. Okay. You have distributed the point. You start walking again, and you exchange the cards. The people that have not finished to finish. Okay. Okay, find another partner and share 7 points again. And for the ones out here, you can just try to observe what's happening, what the social process is, how they adapt.
I was unable to listen at what you were telling. What did you tell them to do?
Okay, we do it one last time, and this round can be really quick. We're fast learners. So exchange your quote, steal it from someone else. And you can start the third round.
I'll give the once more.
Okay, so now you have to do some really simple math. Just do the three numbers, add them together. You should be able to do so.
Well, then grab another person real quickly and do another one.
This is a 7.
Yeah, so she only has 2 as well. Just go.
No, I have.
You're free.
We'll improvise. You can put another number. Just. Okay, and now, again, complete silence that we can have the focus, and we can somehow open up it to our partners. We can wave at them and thank them for watching. And over there we have a board, a resonance board. So it's not which one was the best quote, but like kind of see if we do the really quick resonance voting on what were really the key takeaways from today. So we really start off from the left side, and I give you the microphone, you can read out your sentence, but please don't comment. Just read the sentence. So from 1 to 6 resonant points. Okay, 7 to 12. Okay, we start with 7.
So the sentence is the need for change, transdisciplinary learning for enabling the city. 7 points.
So we can do this as a self-organizing process. I don't have to moderate it.
9. How to enable change through urban research practices and education? Is a question. 9.
Communication is everything.
Questo groundwork, reflexivity and works in progress. 9. Yeah. So this is 9 and it's groundwork, reflexivity and works in progress.
9.5, how to learn and how to co-create a inter and transdisciplinary curriculum to create a better future?
This is 10. Personal development and leadership is essential for sustainable development.
This is 10. Confused at higher level.
There was more resonance to that.
This is 10. We have more questions than answers.
Higher. 11, overarching in-depth knowledge.
This is 11. More students should be involved in the discussion about the future of knowledge and the university.
Everybody get that?
Anyone?
13, embrace. Okay. Manifesto aligns a family of disciplines, but does not reach out enough. It's this is
Put it to your right.
13.
13.
Yes. No, but no, I'm 12. Okay. 13, embrace the co-sensing and the co-creating.
We have 9.
14. I got 14. The day went from being too academic to being more exciting.
I've got 16. Shaping the role of university and university teaching to face the what to do in urban challenges. Yeah, of course. Can I do a bit slower? Shaping the role of university and university teaching to face the what to do in urban challenges. Great.
With 19, fragmented picture. That's it.
Okay, let's give ourselves an applause for this.
Yeah, you can sit back down or just stay there and look at the things. I was trying to incorporate different elements of how to access different forms of knowledge. And I think that's the field, how I entered graphic recording and visualization, that you just have to engage differently than just with your mind and your thoughts and what you talk. So the way you process knowledge, information, there's just so much more variety, and I think we should include that into the ways we communicate and do engagements with each other. And what we just did, I call sense making, and I think it's a crucial capacity to really open up a process, allow all voices to be heard, allow ideas to emerge, and not just come from habit what we already know. And if you're in that state of emergence, then you have to close it back down again. Because if we would have talked in pairs, and then everybody would have come here and presented what their thought were behind their sentence, would have been here for 3 hours. So it's really a matter of sense making, which I think is a crucial capacity in interdisciplinary work and just in any general collaborative group work, to really try to not only understand but to also feel, wow, what strokes my heart. Like, what is the thing where I laughed or where I was surprised? And these are the good moments where you know, wow, that's something we got, or something new, something emergent. And now out of this, like, we could see all the sentences and map them out, how their relations are, and cluster them in different topics and do headlines. So you can also just work with these kind of things. And this also is like a form of graphic facilitation, just to engage people actively in taking their own note. Because I think we're so much in, that's why I always come closer, in that relation of being, talking what we know and not really integrating what we can create together. So that's maybe another side of the part of my work other than what I did in the graphic recording today and yesterday. And here is a graphic I did out of my thesis, out of a systematic literature review on graphic facilitation. There actually is literature on it, quite a bit. You can discuss if it's academic or not, but I'm up with an analysis of 8 functions of graphic facilitation, which are crucial to this practice. And the first 3, the blue ones, are the listening, the dialoguing, and the generative function. So if you sit down with a colleague in a meeting and you have a paper on the table and you note down your key points you're saying, it supports your dialogue because you have a shared understanding of what you're actually saying. If I draw what somebody else is saying and the listener sees that, it really changes the way we listen. And what I like is slows down the conversation. So that you really, if somebody writes something down, the learning can sink in. It's like these coffee percolator moments, like you have some coffee percolated and it really has to take some time to go down. And then that generating function we just did, maybe there's some new sentence came up out of the 2 pairs that you would have not, like came up with yourself. So it's really that creates like a generative function. And the brown or orange one is the sense making, the touching, and mitigating function. So sense making as well we just did, or what a big role of graphic recording is sense making. So trying to capture the key insights of our conversations to break them down to what we can handle. Because if we talk for 3 days, there's lots of content, so we have to break it down, and there the visuals just help really much to remember the very much of the essence. I saw you all like taking picture of this here and like engaging with the visuals, and that what we call in graphic facilitation the art exhibition effect. So it has like that cool thing, oh wow, we can walk around and have a coffee and talk at the poster with a colleague or a friend about the content. So it really has that physical aspect, and that you can actually touch it in these digital ages. It's just a revolution if someone does something with a pen already. There's so many different contexts you can apply this, but it has a mitigating function. So in conflict management, graphics help to see different positions. You can mitigate between different opinions through the graphics. I mean, the most commonly known 2 function is the memorizing and relating functions. So relating is all back to the like systems thinking. They use a lot of visuals and graphics to really try to see the bigger picture. That's what it helps. Now we see day 1, day 2, tomorrow there's going to be day 3, and we can have an overview and see what, in a meta perspective, what can we, like, where are the interconnections, and the visuals help to support that a lot. And I was talking about the shared memory, so the really memorizing function that if you combined like a symbol with a word, your brain can really process it better and remember it better. If now on from a year, you look at the graphic recording that I did, we'll be able to remember what we talked about because of the combinations of words and visuals. Yeah, and of course there's all different forms of interrelation between all these functions, and that's why they are interrelated in the middle. Yeah, that's it. I'm really open to questions. Let's see what time it is. That we still have. Maybe let's do it. Keep it at 10 minutes to close. That we can leave a little earlier. Actually, yeah, there was somebody came up to me. I was just trying to comment. She was saying, "How can a graphic recording stand by itself?" And I said, well, it really depends. If you now show a photo of the image or of the graphic recording to a colleague or friend or family member, they will not able to be like capture the whole essence, but because they were not part of the conversation. If you talk them through the graphic recording, even they can understand it better. But still, it's for the people in the room mainly. And there is, like if you do really illustration, you have to have a lot more text with it. So I didn't actually hang it, but like to have a visual of the manifesto and next to it the text makes sense because then you have both elements. That was just a comment because it was a question raised in the break. Thank you.
Thank you. No, I'll take this. Thank you very much, Jacob. That was excellent, both to embody some of the practice and the theory behind it, and explaining it for us from your perspective, since you've done this many times. And I agree. I'm very happy that we have videoed the days. So
yeah, right.
Combined with and one of the things that David has offered to do very kindly is to recollate the material in video with your drawings, so that it flows together, and hopefully so that we can combine the two and make other people be able to make that connection. Questions, comments?
I was actually thinking, what are you doing with this exercise? And I was thinking, perhaps after this selection, you would try to see if what people have highlighted was in your drawing. And this brings me to a question: is how much do you see? So when you are doing the graphics, you are trying to collect the essence of our discussions in graphic, right? And my question is, how do you think that there is a judgment that you do? Is there things that you feel are there because you have more, more connection to some messages than other messages? Do you feel this challenge, and how do you deal with that?
So yes, there is judgment, and yes, there is subjective thoughts and voices, even like silent comment or like, oh, that's not interesting, or they're talking about that, that's boring now. But it's really a practice of staying present and really trying to engage with the audience, with the speakers, what they're trying to say, and like to look behind the curtain of what is meaningful to them, which, to be honest, is really hard, because you talk about mental concepts of something, you don't talk about your own emotions or what you really think, mostly, right? and then that would make it easier to really look behind the curtain. But there is, like, of course, to my previous knowledge, I choose and I make decisions. And there is this graphic from Kelby Bird, a famous scribe. She has that you can amplify some things and you can just bypass others. So that's what I constantly do. I bypass, okay, it's not so important, not so important. Wow, there was a voice that was not been there the entire time, I will do that bigger. If you look over there, it's also a matter of design. Like the how on the second day now is really big. And that's by accident as well. Because I thought in the moment it was really important, then I looked at it, wow, it's really big in comparison to everything else. But what I say is that, what I said in the first day, that's really an invitation for dialogue if there is mistake or disagreement on the graphic recording. But if another graphic recorder would do the same conversation, it would be looked totally differently. But at the same time, I practice with colleagues. If we do a tandem recording, like both together, one writes post-its on the side, and I do graphic recording, and then we match if we listen to the same thing. And most of the time, we catch the main messages.
Jakob, yesterday you were sharing to two of us your personal attitude while doing the graphic, and we concluded that it made it sustainable for you. Can you please share with every one of us?
You say that again? What did it do to me?
You were sharing with us this internal attitude you have, like this membrane you represent between the content and what is finally put there. And we related it with the presence phase in the U process also. Do you remember?
Yeah, I
you shared with
slightly
us?
remember. There's a lot of content passing by in the meantime.
Oh my God.
I think, yeah, it's what struck me really is that in this practice you have to just as being a facilitator and being a graphic recorder, you have to be willing to transform yourself and really trying to engage, to listen to things that you might also disagree on, and then try to capture the essence. And so for those you know Theory U, it's like a process of, there's different forms of listening, and I can apply that to the graphic recording. So sometimes it's just about downloading what is being said because it's different elements, and other times it's really sensing in and feeling if there is a bigger metaphor or a story underlying being told over the day, and bringing that. In the end, I saw, wow, I can connect enabling the city with the manifesto. And that was more like a general thing that was not being said. But I think it has just, and it is like a bracket for the other stuff as well. That was maybe that kind of moment.
So you start with one lecture, you do one part of the drawing, and then you move forward. I was wondering if you sometimes go back at the end of the day and adjust what you recorded in the morning because maybe you found new meaning later on.
You can, but you mess up your mind. That's where we come into like harvesting. Like in Art of Hosting, what I do a lot, we talk about harvesting. So harvesting the ripe fruits of our conversations. For example, at the Leverage Points conference, there was 60 workshops over 3 days. And like I cannot split in 60. So like how can you come up with a method that captures the key insights from all 60 workshops and then comes back to us that we can visualize it and display it for everyone else. So it's really thinking the things through. But sometimes there's very different forms of layout, how you do a graphic recording. And it depends on the kind of conversation you're in. If I know if like a scientific conference is really different from I know a men's circle I was in, or things like that, like more emotional things, or a strategic business session. It all depends on the context.
Yeah, I don't have
Last
a question. I just want to express my immense admiration for the work you do. So thank you for sharing everything. Really
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I agree.
First, do you see yourself as a performer? It's the first thing. And then what do you do when you feel, or if you feel you get lost? You have to continue, because when I'm taking my notes, I get lost, but there's no problem. But in your case, you have to keep going like a performer in a stage. So what do you, how do you
it's a really good question. I think one capacity I have that I'm not afraid of failure. That's how I was able to start my business as well, because I just went up there and just did graphic recording. Today, there was a failure. I said Ghana, so there was an A in the way. But sometimes these moments of failure is, then the transformative change just crosses out the A and just work with it. So in the end, nobody will kill me because I misspelled an A. Maybe not, Olivia. No? So that's on the second question. The first question, am I a performer? Yes. Graphic recording is a rock star activity. And it's like, and it's really hard to deal with. Sometimes, like, I just want to sneak out, because then people come up and, okay, what was your story behind it? How did you get there? And you're just so much on focus on stage. And that's why I try to emphasize so much that is the content is yours, and it's about the process and not the product. Because what actually happens, I think, sometimes, that people go up there and take a photo, but not because they're interested in the process, just because they think it's cool. And to show their friends back home, oh wow, there was this cool thing. Or even that customers try to hire me because they want to have an innovative method at their conference. So yes, it's about performing, but also in my work, trying to bring in really deep, profound, transformative change through these methods.
I find it amazing how well you can follow the discussion and take out the main issues that are being discussed. And I wonder how much preparatory work is needed for this. Did you have to study the reports or the papers coming out of the project before, or you just land into a completely unknown landscape and you start illustrating?
Of course you did. Matt is reading our stuff.
Yeah. No, it depends as well, but I try to prepare on different levels. So the main level is really being in contact with my client about the process. So where is the graphic recording? Where is the paper? How is the design of the conference? How can we integrate it? That's the main preparation. And sometimes takes months to really discover what their purpose is and why they want to integrate a graphic recording. And yeah, I think then for preparing for a gig, I read the texts that I was given, but sometimes it's distracting if you already know what's coming up, because then you think, oh wow, I have to capture this as well was in the paper, and there was these 3 strategic things. So I try to stick with the moment and listen to the body language and what the person emphasizes in the moment. And that is really difficult here as well, with like, if I have speakers that have PowerPoint at the same time, because then on slides, there's just 10 points or these quotes, and they just comment on it quickly, and then it's gone, and I can't read it, and that's really challenging. Of course, it helps if you know about the topic. I once the conversation that was most challenging I recorded was about in German it's Immunbiologie and Epigenetik. So I just had to access my school knowledge from back then, but I still liked it. Yeah.
Okay, I was just curious. I see there's a lot of words. And I think it's easier for us to understand if there is words and concepts. But do some graphic artists like you don't use words at all?
Good question as well. So in theory of graphic recording, you always say it's like word-image combinations. Because if you just put an image, it's really abstract. This just opens a lot of interpretation. If you put a word with it, someone nails it down. If you just have a word, it's just too dry because you cannot relate. That's the kind of combination. But again, here it depends on the conversation. So if it's a really, let's say, more emotional conversation, it could be more drawings in it. But for sense-making reasons, and if people want to work with the content, there needs to be a certain level of lettering and writing. Yeah.
Wow, thank you. The burning doubts. I think we let everybody enjoy the rest of the day. I just want to capture two things from what you said, and as a mirror, what I heard that I want to take home. One is you very elegantly, as you put it, that we didn't really say what we feel. We talked a lot, but you couldn't capture the real, and I think maybe some were captured in this exercise, and I think that's always a lesson that in academia we learn a lot, is that we are very good at speaking at a certain level, but we are very good at protecting ourselves, and maybe that is one of the issues of the future of academia that we need to confront, of course, is how do we negotiate that boundary? And so thank you for putting that mirror up for us. The other thing is, so just to say why I insisted so much with Marta to be able to invite you here, and of course you had less than a month to be here because it was all totally unplanned and very last minute. But the intention is really to combine the graphics with our material so that it's not alone, and I'm hoping that it multiplies its effect in a way, because otherwise, as you say, the temptation is also to say, oh, this is really cool, but then it ends there and it's just an image. So the idea is that it reinforces, hopefully, some of the things we want to say and we want to think about. And I want to close on the reason why I think this is an incredibly powerful. We've discussed theory U a little bit, and theory U is a very complex idea about change and change, systems of change, and why you change and how you can change. And at least my personal view is that its use of imagery of this kind of graphics has been incredibly powerful to allow it to evolve and to travel so far around the world and in different places. Without the graphics, I think it would be lost for only those in outer space with the capacity for infinite complexity, which excludes me immediately. So thank you very much. Thank you all for staying, for contributing, for sharing your thoughts. Let's see who resists until tomorrow. And I hope you enjoy the rest of this beautiful day in what is a privilege to be in Lisbon. So thank you. Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you.